Hello everyone, my name is Eric Jones, better known as the Turf Teacher. Welcome to the course entitled Site Measuring and Base Map Preparation. This course will get you one irrigation credit, so 1.0 credit, 1 hours of CEUs or continuing education for your North Carolina irrigation contractor's license renewal. And this is a new course that is put up under the tab New Courses for this year. So anyway, guys, thanks for joining me. This is a subject near and dear to my heart, just like every topic that I talk about in the green industry. I love everything that we can possibly do in the green industry, but we must be able to correctly measure and put together a site plan or a rough sketch of our clients' properties, no matter if we're doing landscape or irrigation design. And that's what we're going to touch base with. This is 47 slides, guys. It's a 1 hour class, so I'm going to try to keep the lecture at 1 hour. Our learning objectives, guys, we're going to understand the terminology of what a lot is, a plot plan, a site plan, base map, base sheet. Really, basically, they're all the same thing. What we're going to do is get that site survey from the client or the builder, if at all possible. So that's what we're striving to do. We're going to identify 3 sources for site data, understand site measuring systems, locate property lines, locate the home features, the doors, windows, walls, gas, and electric meters. That is all pertinent to both landscape and irrigation design and installation. We're going to locate above and below ground utilities and be able to mark them on our site plan. And we're going to understand the process for drawing the base map sheet or the base sheet and base map, and then terms that we need to list on the plan drawing. And as you can see here, guys, my favorite tools in the whole wide world in this picture, we've got our T-square, our triangle, we've got our scales, we've got both an architect and an engineer scale, but that pintail sign pin and that roll of trash paper, or some people call it bum wad or tracing paper, that Sharpie or that pintail sign pin and that roll of trash paper are our number 1 tools when it comes to completing a landscape design. I love it. You have to have it. You have to use it. And just the all-around tool that you need to have in your office there at a table. Now, guys, I still like hand drawing. I do. I still like getting that survey and blowing it up, even though I love our Dynascape software for base map drawing and doing 2-dimensional design. I love it, but still, guys, there's a point in time where sometimes you just have to get out that pen and paper, and I love being able to do that. And so, guys, the lot, sometimes referred to as a parcel, plat, or the plot itself. It's an area of ground on which a single family residence is located. It's the property, it's the land that the building and the sidewalk and driveway and everything is placed upon. Width is usually narrower than the depth, so it's going to be longer and deeper than it is wide. Corner lots tend to be equal proportion on all sides. They're mostly rectangular. Cul-de-sacs are often pie or wedge shaped. A lot of people love living on that cul-de-sac. I for one, would not. And then some are located on unusual topography and can be irregular in shape. And as you see the picture here, the red arrow is pointing to a vacant lot that could be used for building. And so, if you're in the real estate business, you might want to look for these lots and build rental properties. But what I'm trying to show you, it is just the piece of land that the house and everything is located on. And lots are often labeled by acreage. And 1 acre is equivalent to 43,560 square feet, or it is 208 feet by 208 feet if it is a perfect box. So typically your small lots are going to be at 1/8 of an acre, average 1/4 of an acre. Your medium lots are 1/2 acre, and then your large lots are 1 acre or greater. Now, I'm sure we've all did a design, or we've done an installation, or we've done an irrigation system on all of these size properties. And so they all bring their constraints and they all bring their possibilities of how we can actually perform our services. But guys, just note and just remember that, 1 acre is 43,560 square feet. You won't believe how many people that I ask this question, not only in college, on campus, our students, but, contractors in general. They don't know what the square footage is of an acre. But, I love this little diagram here. The 1 acre is 4,047 meters square. It is 4,840 yards squared, and it is the 43,560 square feet. So good information there, good information. There, the house is an example based on a 4-bedroom detached house that is 800 square feet. And so that's, on a pretty good sized lot there that would require some irrigation design, irrigation problem solving probably there. You got the trees. It's kind of hard to see what the topo is there, but we've all seen a familiar or familiar with lots of this nature. Property lines, they're invisible lines defining the sides or edges of the lots. They are identified by bearing and distance. The bearing is the horizontal direction of a property line expressed in degrees, east or west of true north or south. And if you seen the lectures that I put up last year in 2018, we actually did draw a property line using our protractor. I love being able to do that. That is a simple thing to do. I love doing that when the client calls, being able to go to Geodata, print it off real quick, and I can blow up their site map very quickly on a sheet of trash paper and take it to the job site with me, or when I'm going to do an estimate and take notes for that client. But bearing is the horizontal direction of a property line expressed in degrees, east or west of true north or south, and I've already read that. But the distance is the horizontal linear measurement of the property line. So if it's 200 feet by 50 feet wide lot, there is your distance that we're talking about. Iron pins or other permanent markers are embedded in the ground that mark the corners of the lot. And as you can see here, there is an iron stake driven down in it. It's got the fluorescent tape wrapped around it, and then they've also put up a wooden stake so that you could see it, at greater distances. And they've probably got the top of that stake painted an orange or pink color as well. Plot plan, they are scale drawing that accurately shows the lot configuration, shows the legal boundaries and the existing structures. There we have a couple scales, guys, you should be familiar with this. Most of your plot plans that I am typically seeing in the job site boxes are 1 inch equals 20. I'm also seeing 1 inch equals 30. Sometimes I see 50. Just depends on the surveyor. So we would take that survey and actually blow it up. But typically what we do our designs with in irrigation and landscape is on the quarter scale is 1/4 inch equals a foot, or an 1/8 inch equals a foot, and that's on the architect scale. If we're using an engineer scale, it's going to be 1 inch equals 10 feet, or 1 inch equals 20 feet. But nice set of scales there, the aluminum scales. I'll never forget the late John Robinson, one of my professors at School of Agriculture. I took undergraduate in landscape architecture. Professor Robinson had those metal scales, and I'll always remember him for that. And he's the one that taught me how to put irrigation on paper, to actually be able to draw it, calculate pipe sizes, and everything else like that. So very what you'd say, very appreciative of what I learned from John Robinson and Perry Howard at North Carolina A&T. Now, here is a site survey. This is Campton Ridge Road. If you saw the previous lecture in this new year's selection of courses that I've done, I did one, special sites for landscape and irrigation design. The corner house that was on Campton Ridge Road is the one that we've seen in that. Here is a house that we built just down the street. And yes, guys, I did have a general contractor's license. Still maintain a license, gave it up when I went off and did some military stuff. But built this house here on Campton Ridge. Unique floor plan here. But this is a site plan that you are possibly able to get from your client, or if it's a new house under construction, you should be able to go by and take a picture of this plot plan and take it back to your office and scale it to the size that you need. But as you can see, it is a scale drawing created by a professional surveyor. It has property lines, it has bearings and distance of the property lines, and if you look on either side, this is lot 180. You can distinguish that by the 180 with the circle around it, and 181 is to the left, 179 is to the right. But if you look at those property lines, let's see, where it says 181, you see the lines there. It says south 86 degrees, 33 feet, and 31 minutes west. So basically that line is from north in a southerly direction, westerly. Well, that's how you would draw the line. From north, you're going to do your degree angles. Not far, because it being 86 degrees, because true north is the 90 degrees. It's off to the left just a little bit, and it goes through that point, and you would draw that line 143.34 feet. It also shows the house footprint and dimensions, other structures on site, the line orientation to true north, the right-of-ways, the sidewalks, and the boulevards, which, really there's no sidewalk there in this neighborhood. And then it's got the setbacks and the easements, and you can see there that 10-foot utility easement. And it's very distinguishable how we're doing the driveway. The driveway is like right on the property line. And, a very simple, clean-cut survey. You can see north is to the right, but it gives us all the pertinent information that we need to complete a landscape or irrigation design. The right-of-way is a publicly owned area of land along front of a lot, which includes the street, sidewalk, or the boulevard. This is actually going to be owned, by the public, the city. The average width is 60 feet in a residential area. It can vary from 30 feet to 120 feet. It is regulated by local government. Always check with local authorities on the regulations pertaining to the right-of-ways. Some municipalities are not going to let you plant certain plants in the right-of-way. They're not going to allow you to do any type of landscaping. They may not let you do irrigation on parts of it. So you just need to check with your local ordinance on what can be done in the right-of-way. Sidewalk, located just inside of right-of-way. Sidewalk maintenance is the responsibility of the property owner. So if any damage or anything was happened to it, it's still your responsibility. So be careful who you hire for snow removal services, or if you're having any type of heavy construction done on your house, you would need to take consideration of how to protect that sidewalk. Or a lot of times, these GCs, and even if we had to destroy the sidewalk, I would just include it in my quote to cut out that section we've damaged and fix it. Boulevard, it is a strip of land located between the sidewalk and the street. So you can see they've got street trees in it. It is that grass and trees in between the sidewalk and the street, also referred to as a berm or tree lawn. Often location of underground utilities, so there ain't too much going to be happening in there when it comes to heavy tree planting or anything like that. It might be a little different here, but the city is the one that planted these trees, so they're responsible for any damage that they had done for it. The property owners are responsible for the boulevard maintenance, so you've got to cut the grass, you've got to keep the trees limbed up or whatever. You have to take care of it. And it makes a good accent. A lot of people may think, well, it's not mine, I shouldn't have to take care of it. But guys, it brings so much added value to your house. And having that sidewalk in front of your home, I would never, ever live in a neighborhood, which I don't now, but I would never look at moving into a neighborhood that did not have sidewalks. I think that is one of the greatest attributes of our neighborhoods, that it creates that pedestrian flow and it gets you outside to meet your neighbors and to create that unity within the neighborhood. Setback. Minimum distance any portion of a structure is located or the setback of the property line. And as you can see here, the picture, you got the front setback with that lines, the red lines. They can't anything be built in front of that. And then you've got the second front setback on the corner lot. And then you've got that corner site triangle that nothing can be on. So these are some good setbacks, especially that corner site triangle. How many times have you tried pulling up to that stop sign and looking to your left and trying to see if there's a car coming during the daytime? It's easier to see it at night because of the headlights, but you don't want any obstructions in there. But you have a front yard setback, you have a backyard setback, you have a side yard, and the setbacks restrict location of site structures, whether it be the fences, walls, gazebos, pool buildings, etc., and even plant material. Now, you may also want to check with ordinance about irrigation systems, and I'm sure you could water that lawn area that's in the setbacks, but do the rotors or pop-ups, do they need to be outside of it? You just need to check. All it takes is a phone call. Easement, a strip of land for which others have legal right of access. It can be the front, back, or side of a lot, may straddle property lines, may lie completely within one property. It is used by utility companies, especially if they need to get back to some type of substation or anything like that. Excavation and location of the utilities above and below ground, move equipment, anything that these utility companies may have. They've got that easement to actually run a new water line, to run sewer in your neighborhood. They can come in and put these improvements in the easement. Structures, large plant materials should not occupy an easement. Now, an easement can also be like a right-of-way. As you can see, the servient, which is parcel B, the right-of-way is on their property, and that gives access to the dominant parcel A in the back. They need to be able to put a driveway in to access that land, and that would be a right-of-way. And people do that all the time. Sometimes that can be a bit confusing, and you've got to get attorneys involved and things of that nature. And it can really be a bad situation if they do not love thy neighbor. Again, here's another site plan. This is in Southern Woods neighborhood. It's a house that we built. And this is a good little property. It's square, it's rectangle. The house is located right on the front. But this was in the job site box. So there's two definitions of a site plan. For developers and building contractors, it refers to the drawing showing proposed location of a new house within a lot with dimensions and setbacks from the property lines. And then for landscape architects or designers, irrigation guys, anything like that, it describes scaled drawings showing proposed landscape design or irrigation design or the layout of the site. So you're going to see these two definitions. Yeah, and really, there should only be one, in my opinion, because we're all intertwined in helping out the client and doing what's best for the client. So our site plan is blown up. For the developers and building contractors, it's going to be this little guy. It's going to be on either an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, or I have seen them on 11 by 17, especially if they give the homeowner a copy of it. It'll usually be on 11 by 17, or the legal size sheet of paper. I may be stating that wrong. The actual 8.5 by 14, which is the legal sheet. So I've had clients give me several surveys or site plans on that legal sheet of paper, and it's legal because it's got the surveyor or the engineer's stamp on it. But again, when we refer to site plan, hey, we've already taken that site plan from the developer builder, blown it up, and it's either on an 18 by 24 or 24 by 36 sheet of paper, depending on what size that we're making the drawing. But preliminary design and master plan are both considered site plans, and so that's where it comes into play for the LAs and the architects and the PEs. All right, base map. Now, this is the same lot that we just seen on the previous slides, lot 328 Southern Woods Drive. Built this house for the plumbers. But here it is. I actually just took it and put it on a sheet of trash paper. It was a little bit easier, and it got it cleaned up for us to do our things. And I still did do the dimension lines. But our base map scaled plan drawing that documents all existing physical site elements. We got driveways, walkways, patios, decks, terraces, walls, fences, steps, utilities, plant materials, etc. Contains all the dimensions from an on-site evaluation and geodata resources. Now, I actually took this information from the site plan that was given to me by the surveyor. You can record existing site conditions on this. You can identify elements to be removed, replanted, or replaced, and is used for site inventory and analysis. And so that's what I like. And if you've seen my lecture entitled The Client Interview, I like getting there, a few minutes early with this drawing in hand. If the client doesn't have it, I can get it from our Forsyth County Geodata. I can print this out and I can draw this pretty quick. It takes me, less than 10 minutes to draw this. I show up at the client's house a few minutes before. I'm walking around. I'm doing my site inventory and analysis, so I'll write all over this. And when I sit down with them at the kitchen table, guys, I've got this detailed information drawing that basically only I can understand, but in the client's eye, it makes me look like a superstar. And I've got maybe 15 or 20 minutes in it all together. I've already sold the job based on that information sitting down there. They're like, whoa, this guy's good. He spent all this time and energy into our design already. We need to hire him. So I use it as a selling point. Yes, I'm not going to get every single one, but I like knowing that property and that site when I sit down at that kitchen table and I start talking about the design elements that they want. Me doing that quick site inventory and analysis, I can tell them right up front, hey, this will work or that won't work based on my site inventory and analysis. It's helping me not promise the world. Now, here's another base sheet, plan drawing that shows only site elements that will remain and be incorporated into new design. It's a more simplified drawing than the base map. Here we have, this is a rental property that my dad's getting ready to sell. We use this at the college multiple times to draw this so we can do a landscape design on it. It's a perfect box square, and if you've ever seen my drawing the irrigation plan, this is the house that we did. But it's neat and clean. As you can see, the structure is darker. The property lines are dashed, and then the driveway and sidewalk are a little bit lighter than our building structure. But again, like I said, it represents a clean slate visual, so the designer can have maximum flexibility and creativity. Nice clean drawing there. Gathering existing site data. Again, our site inventory analysis, we can get those from legal documents, we can get them for digital sources, architectural drawings, and then even on-site measurements. And so guys, I like sitting down with this. Get you one of those multicolored pens that you can pop out, or keep a box of colored pencils. Walk around, draw this, do this real quick, and when you sit down at the kitchen table, boom, you've already sold the job. People just respect the time that you've put in to doing that for them. Legal documents can be provided by the owners. As a property deed, it's a written legal document transferring title. It'll give the site size, dimensions, easements, other legal restrictions. You may need to get the document from the mortgage company if the property owner doesn't have it. It's also available from the city and county. The plot plan or site survey can replace property deed if stamped by a registered surveyor. Again, more than likely they're going to have that. It used to be required here in North Carolina that every time you bought a new home, you had to give it surveyed. They quit doing that, I think, in the late 90s, which kind of bothers me because anytime somebody buys a new house, they want to redo landscaping. Well, if they had that survey, look at all the time that saved you. You could pop that right into Dynascape software and have a design pretty quick. I mean, the plot plan or site survey can replace it. I always read stuff twice, don't I, guys? That's why it takes longer than an hour sometimes. But site dimensions can also be obtained from the county engineer's office, the architect, or even the building contractor, if that building contractor wants to give it to you. But like I said, guys, their site plan will be in the job site box. Take a picture of it with your phone and then come back to the office, print it off, and then blow it up to the scale that you need. Or put it in Dynascape software. It's real easy to do. If no legal scale document exists, a survey is needed. The exact location of the property lines is essential between adjacent properties. Property lines should not be assumed from fences or hedges placed by the property owner. We've all seen nightmares about that. And then depending on the simplicity of design and experience of the designer, the survey may not be needed. But, I mean, if you're doing a front foundation planting, no, you can sketch that out yourself. Here is a house. The very first house I built was in Springfield Village. Guys, this was almost like a zero lot line, to be honest with you. I mean, we had just 2 feet on that right side of the house. Due north is directly headed up to where it says Springfield Village Lane. So if you're sitting on the porch looking out, you're looking at due north. And, we could only do like a 10-foot driveway coming down the side. And the developer made everybody put the driveway on the same side, so that would create equal distance between the houses. If not, you would have 2 that were, side by side, butted up against each other, and then you would have about 22 feet in between the next one on the other side. So, guys, you would have had to have this to do a landscape design and to do an irrigation design for a property like this. Depending on the simplicity of the design experience, like I said, survey may not be needed if you're only doing a front foundation planting, or maybe if you were doing like a courtyard design in here. But this is a good project that we do on campus, both digitally and hand-drawn. Digital sources, the property records and maps in digital form from local government entities. Auditor's office, the tax agency, zoning office, planning department, and we've seen this picture here. Again, this is at the corner of Campton Ridge Road and Pebble Lake. We've seen it in the previous lecture. Can be purchased and downloaded in digital format. They can actually give you a hand copy, printed copy if you need be. And then there are the GIS, or Geographic Information System database. It shows detailed scaled configuration of the property lines and location of the structures on site, and some allow the viewer to add or subtract site features. And that's a good thing to have. Architectural drawings, provides accurate information on the site structures, the scale drawings that depict building location on the property and location of windows and doors, which is very, very important to us. The client may have a copy of these drawings. The architect or builder should keep a copy, and then if no copies are available, precise on-site measurements and drawings will need to be made. And luckily, with all the digital scanning software and stuff out there, you should be able to hire someone to do it if you feel uncomfortable doing it. But this right here would be good to do some perspective drawings with. We could take that and trace it and really do some nice colored renderings for our clients. On-site measuring, getting out the old tape measure and the wheel to make it happen. It's a 2-person job. The designer and assistant, you need to use a cloth or metal 100-foot tape. If measuring solo, secure the end of the tape with a stake or a screwdriver in the ground. There's 3 measuring techniques: direct measuring, baseline measuring, and then triangulation. Each one is very important to know. We touch base with all of these in landscape construction class. Direct measuring is measure the distance between 2 parallel lines, between edge of sidewalk to edge of the brick wall, between the edge of concrete terrace to the face of the house, and then between the edge of the sidewalk to the face of the house. And guys, please know how to read a tape measure. I see it every day where students have never been introduced. These are high school graduates. They do not know how to read a tape measure. I think I learned how to do it possibly in 1st or 2nd grade. Times have changed. A baseline measuring, used to locate points or elements that are on or near a baseline, a straight line such as a fence, walkway, or a house wall. It is strongly recommended when measuring the location of doors and windows along the face of the house. Triangulation. Here you're squaring off that patio. Used to locate a point in relation to 2 other points. Provides a reference for placing an object or plant material in the middle of a wide open space, poles, lights, utility boxes. It's good to use when lines or elements are not parallel to each other. So guys, when you are squaring up a deck or you're squaring up a patio, you would need to use that triangulation method. Looks like a pretty cool old structure here that they're probably getting ready to fix up. And then recording the site measurements. Use organized and legible writing, guys. We should all be writing in architectural lettering. It's funny, guys, even years after being in the landscape architecture program, if I go to a seminar myself, I find myself writing notes in all caps and architectural lettering. I don't know. It's just something where we had to do it so much that I do it all the time, and everybody's like, Eric, you write so pretty and neat. And this, I don't say this to mean sexist, but they say you write like a woman. Guys, we should all write neat and legibly. It's not that I'm writing like a woman. I'm writing like a landscape architect. And even if we're a contractor, we need to develop that skill of being able to write legibly, not only for ourselves. How many times we get back, and I've seen my dad do this numerous times. He's looking at something that he's wrote, and he's like, what the heck was I talking about? I don't even know what it is. But if you write neat, you or the next person or your assistant will be able to pick up on what you're writing. Person who takes the measurements may not be the one who is preparing the drawing. That's probably the best reason in the whole wide world that you need to write legibly. The base map and base sheet may not be created until sometime later. So again, you may forget. You've got these numbers in your head, and if you just scribble them down on the piece of paper and they're not legible, you may forget what they are. Good organization of measuring notes eliminates the need to return to the site due to forgotten or illegible writing. Wouldn't that just tick you off if you're sitting at the drafting table putting together this base map and you can't read your own handwriting and you got to get back in the truck and go out there and do it again? Look how much time and money that cost you. Write neat. Use graph paper if you have to. Record it in pencil. Have a copy of the site survey or the digital source when you are measuring. Measuring the lot. Determine the size and shape of the lot. Most of them are rectangular or they're pie-shaped if they're in a cul-de-sac. Sketch on the graph paper. Fasten to the clipboard. So get one of those big clipboards, tape it down, do a rough sketch. Needs not to be to scale, but should be accurately depict the shape of the property and its corners. Number the property corners, measure property lines corner to corner, and then record on the sketch of the property. And then you should be able to go and do a nice base map from it. Locating the house on the lot. Estimate the house location on the previously drawn graph paper. Draw only the walls. Make sure all walls are shown facing their correct direction. Label all principal house corners with a capital letter of the alphabet. Do not label architectural features that are not the main walls, for example, the fireplace. Use triangulation measuring to locate accurately the house in relation to the property corners. So guys, if we don't have a site survey, being a designer, we should be able to go out and do this. We should be able to go out and draw that property and it be accurate. Remember, we're irrigation contractors. We're landscape contractors. And I know for a fact that the irrigation law says we've got to provide an as-built drawing for our clients when we install an irrigation system. So you better make sure that you know how to draw it. It needs to look neat and it needs to look pretty. Locating walls, doors, and windows. Using a second piece of graph paper, draw the house configuration. Draw larger than a previous sketch. Larger sketch will accommodate greater number of detailed elements to be measured for the house. Recommended process would sketch the overall plan, noting the corners. Estimate location of doors and windows, penciling in the location. And then the doors are noted by D1, D2, 3, etc. Continuing on up. Windows are noted by W1, W2, W3, and so on. That way you've got detailed representation of what's going on. Now, guys, not only when we're drawing this site plan, we should be taking our cell phones. Guys, we have a computer in our hand, and we have one of the best digital cameras ever produced on, whether it's an iPhone or a Google phone or anything like that. They all take wonderful pictures. You need to be taking 100 pictures of this property so you can bring it back and blow it up on your computer screens and see this. And I like being able to take the pictures on my iPad and then putting it in OneNote or the Notes app on the iPad, and you can write on the picture. It's so simple now, guys, that we should have detailed information about our properties. But locating the walls, doors, windows again. Sketch overall plan, noting all the corners. Estimate location, doors, windows. Again, I threw in this extra slide. This is a cool picture. It should be noted D1, D2, D3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 9, 10 windows here on the front of this house. There's only one door. This information was in the previous slide. My apologies, guys. Locating other house elements: gas meter, electric meter, water faucet, downspout, telephone box, electrical outlet, cable hookup, dryer vents, floodlights. Note the location of the elements by referencing the wall segment they are on. And so all you'd have to do is, put those symbols that we have there: GM, EM, WF, DSTE, EO, all of those symbols that represent the other important house elements that you need to know where they're at. Locating the utility lines, guys, you've got to call ULOCO. You've got to call that 811 and get everything marked. It is essential to have it accurately located for safety during construction, for future utility maintenance, for layout of proposed design, and note if they are above ground or below ground. Most new neighborhoods, everything is below ground. They're not bringing in power overhead like they do in some of the older neighborhoods. But guys, mark these on your site plan. Call 811 when they come out and do it. Measure where they are at and give yourself some sense. Try to get it as accurately as possible where the power is, where a phone and cable is, where water is. And this will be good information for the client to have as well. So put it on the base plan. Above ground utilities, there's 5 suggested measurements. Locate the utility poles using triangulation. Estimate the height of the wires on the utility poles. Establish where the wires connect to the house using the baseline method. Estimate the height of wire attachment to the house. And then locate the lowest point of wires above the ground between the pole and the house. Like I said, this is only on the older neighborhoods. If you're doing new construction design, you're not going to have to worry about this. But this can play into fact when it comes to planting trees and other type structures, depending on how high those wires are, because they're going to drop low when they connect it to the house. Locating other trees and plant materials. Note existing trees and shrub groupings. Trees is T1 through T3. Shrub or mass shrub S1 through S3 and higher up. Trees and shrubs located at the foundation measured with the baseline method. Trees and shrubs elsewhere on the site measure with the triangulation method. And so, like I said, guys, if you're doing only that front foundation, that simple baseline is quick. You don't necessarily have to draw the full site plan if you're just doing a front foundation renovation, which, is one of my favorites to do. Tree location requires 5 measurements. Locate the center of the tree by triangulation. Measure the diameter of the tree trunk. Estimate the distance of the ground to tree canopy. Estimate the spread of the tree canopy by noting the drip line around the ground. Then estimate the total height of the tree. And they've got these little pocket telescopes, guys, that you can use to actually get the height of these trees. And isn't that a gorgeous maple? I love the red maples. And photograph the site. I've already said that. Guys, digital camera or smartphone, tablet, photograph when measuring the site, and photograph when taking the site inventory. Now, my favorite thing to do is to take the iPad, store it on there. And guys, what I like to do is I like taking these pictures, and we use Jobber. We create the client, so we create that request, and we go and do the estimate, and I'm taking all these pictures. I upload these pictures in Jobber of the client's property. It makes it so much easier to have those in the client's folder, or the client's, I call it a folder within Jobber. You can just open up that client, and then there's the pictures of their property. It's really good to have that. And I take it with the iPad. Do everything. A lot of times I'm doing the estimates and everything right there in the field, guys. I can type it up because we use Jobber to estimate. So we've done our homework there in the office. We've already got the site plan. We've drew it up. We've taken a copy of it with us. I've got my iPad. I'm using Jobber to do the estimate. I email it to them right there. The good thing about that, guys, the pictures are already included in the estimate as an attachment. So guys, we are impressing the heck out of our clients with these tools that we have at our fingertips. And that's why you're going to sell the job. Guys, I've sold jobs many a times being the higher price on the job just based on my professionalism and how I sell the job to the client. You don't have to be the cheapest to get some of these jobs. People want good quality work, and they want that green industry expert, and these tools help you do that. Drawing procedures, draw the base sheets and the base maps. Both have shared elements. It's helpful to coordinate the preparation. The property lines, house location, the other structures are on the base sheet. All existing site plant materials that remain unchanged. And then the base map needs to be able to duplicate the new base sheet drawing, add all other existing site elements, utilities, proposed additions, fences, blah, blah, blah. Now, here is basically a clean site plan. It's got existing trees. It's got your topo. It's got the proposed building, the parking lot, and everything like that. And then from that point, they'll be able to do other drawings from it. It needs to be reproducible, but like I say, if you're doing it in Dynascape software, that's easy to do anyway. But always think back, if you have to do something by hand, you need to be able to reproduce this really quick. And guys, it's still good. Site inventory and analysis, you need the colored markers and the colored pencils to help not only get the point across to your client, but to get it across to you. I refer back to my site inventory and analysis so many times during a design. Paper for hand drawing, vellum and mylar, they're both good. Vellum is semi-transparent. It's used with pencil, HB, H2H. Ink is not recommended. I use it. I'll be honest with you. I guess very seldom do I use a pencil anymore. I'm using the little fine point Sharpies or my Pentel sign pen. Mylar is a thin, transparent film. It's used with ink or pencil. It's preferred paper for drawing. Pencil will smear. Ink can be erased. It's more durable than vellum. Not sure if any architects or LAs are using Mylar. We used it in undergraduate a lot. And I'll never forget, you heard me talking about John and Perry. They both are LSU graduates of their BLA program, and then they both got their masters at Harvard. So I learned from two of the best guys when it comes to landscape architecture professors. But they said they were so poor at graduate school at Harvard that they bought one sheet of Mylar and they used it their entire time during grad school. So they would draw it, go run a copy on the blueprint machine, the old blueprint machine with the ammonium based. I've done that too. It runs, a few copies of it off, then erase the Mylar and then draw the next drawing that they had to do. So that was a good little story about them. Neat how we all come through our careers and what we had to do to get where we are. But again, choose the scale of the drawing. Engineer 1 inch equals 10. Surveyors use engineering scales. Use it when working with the surveyor maps. Architect scale, 1/8 inch equals foot, 1/4 inch equals foot. Architects use the architect scale. It's used when working with architectural drawings. Homeowners may understand this scale a little bit better because it's kind of familiar with the tape measure. And I'll never forget, one day we were on a job site and we were looking at a landscape plan, and Dad's like, we need to scale it, figure out where these trees go. I'm like, hey, I got the scales in the truck. Let me go get them. He said, son, I don't need no scale. Hey, I said, what do you mean? He said, it's 1/4 inch equals foot. I got my tape measure right here. He said, 1 inch is 4 feet. That's all I need. I'm like, shoot, never really even thought of that until Dad told me that. So, yeah, I would have ran back and got the scales. It's funny. He's like, it doesn't matter if it's, if it's an 1/8 scale, 1/4 scale, we can use the tape measure to lay these plants out. Graphic style of the base sheet and map, keep it simple, efficiency of time, maximize flexibility for further drawings, keep the textures to a minimum. It needs to be simple plant symbols and the notes need to be concise. So kind of come up with your own style. I tell my students at the college, we learn how to draw pretty much every plant symbol by hand, but they need to, choose the ones that represent them and the ones that they're going to use pretty much in their career. They learn that pretty early on and they stick with it through their career. Sheet size, guys, it depends on a lot. Depends on the size of the lot, the scale of the drawing, available sizes of vellum or mylar, and the copier. Most preferred sizes would be 24 by 36. That's mostly used. And then you do occasionally use 18 by 24 or the 30 by 42 sheets are sometimes also available. Bond paper, the 8.5 by 11 or the 11 by 17, is just your copy paper. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. And guys, if you've got a client that you've been working for years, guys, a simple graph paper may be all you need to do to get your point across. You've already built that trust, and that's okay. But I look at each new client and I really go all out on trying to sell our services and sell our company. So I do put that time up front of drawing that base map and doing the few minutes walking around the property, doing that site inventory and analysis with the colored pens. So when I sat down, I just look professional, guys. And, to each their own. Some may think that's a waste of time. Well, I'm not going to do it because I haven't sold them the job yet, but that's totally up to you. A well-organized sheet layout. You need to have a title block. It'll have the site plan, north arrow, indication of the drawing scale, notes and legends, sheet border line. It needs to have your logo, the client's name. It needs to be a system in place. So when you do file these drawings, if you're keeping prints, most everybody are uploading the drawings to the cloud, I guess, or backing it up to a hard drive. But every now and then, guys, it's good to pull out those set of prints. I did hear the other day that nobody reads prints anymore. I don't know. Every job site that I go to, I still see prints on site, and they're good. Not everybody's going to pick up that digital format and actually run with it. So I still see prints being around for a few years anyway. Title block, here's a good example. Egan Landscape Group, nice title block and the legend there on it. It's got their client's name down at the bottom and the name of the designer, all the information we talked about. But the title block has the following information: the client, designer information, client name and address, designer or firm's name and address, the sheet title, preliminary plan or master plan, etc. And then the drawing information located either inside or outside the title block, which will have the sheet title, sheet 1 of 4, 1 of 1, whatever it is, written or graphic scale preferred, and then the north arrow, and then a date that the design was done. And the plan on sheet, or place on the sheet so it easily viewed the actual legend. Place slightly off center to have white space where notes and legends can be written. And then there's just a small plant legend, or what sometimes we'll call plant key. The north arrow, every plan needs directional orientation, helps orient the client to the drawing, normally placed near the scale key of the drawing. I like my north arrow to be right beside my scale. Standard procedure is to position the plan so that the north arrow points toward the top or left side of the sheet. And then position sometimes altered to align with the client's preferred viewing vantage point of their property. And like I said, I've seen it all kinds of ways, so there's really not a wrong way to do this. Like I said, it's based on what's easier for our clients to view their property and for us to view it. Here's a drawing scale. Here's one, done graphically. We have quarter scale, 8 scale, and 20 scale. And the idea of this is, guys, somebody can take a piece of paper and trace that scale and move that tracing around the plan, so they can actually draw that scale, trace it, and use it to measure on site if you don't have a tape measure like my father, or a scale that should be kept in the truck. But it is written or graphic scale required. It is required, provides the client the frame of reference, typically at the bottom near the north arrow, and it's inside the title block. And your notes, legends, and your borders. Here is a pre-bordered drawing. Yes, this is fine for technical drawings or construction details. I like to hand draw my borders and my title block. I like throwing that artistic value to it. But you need to have notes and legends. They're placed in the white space next to the plan. Notes Notes placed close to the elements they refer to. Leader lines extend from the note to the element. The note should be brief. Notes and legends should be 1/8 inch high and well organized if you're doing it in architectural lettering. And a good thing is, guys, in software like Dynascape software, you can add all that information. And so I recommend checking out Dynascape software, guys, for a good software to use, because you can add those notes very well on the plans. And guys, just Google it. All those images are going to come up, and you can see, wow, I can do that with Dynascape software. But borders, frame the content of the sheet 1/2 inch to 1 inch from the sheet edge, depending on how big it is. I usually go 1/2 inch, and then additional space is needed on the left side of the sheet for binding with other sheets. And I like actually getting the binding done with our company logo on it to make everything just neat and clean and uniform. And guys, wow, we are at the end. So right at 50 minutes, the maximum time or the minimum time required for a 1-hour lecture by the licensing board. But this is the reference Residential Landscape Architecture, the design process for the private residence, 7th edition by Booth and Hiss. And we use this in both Landscape Architecture 111 at the college and HOR 112 and 213. So guys, my name's Eric Jones, a turf teacher. I will see you in the next lecture. Thank you guys very much.